Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Break the Wheel. My name is Shawn Hardie, and thank you for joining me today. And today's show, we are going to break down how you can make money betting on Super Bowl 55. And not just betting on the game, but examining the 3.5 million prop bets that are available for you to bet on. And yes, we actually took the time out to go through all of them for you. Now, if you're probably wondering, hey, I've never gambled before. I don't know anything about gambling. Well, listen, this is the one sporting event that everybody bets on. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. So doesn't you don't have to be an experienced gambler. You can be a complete novice. You can just go to any sports book app, FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, William Hill, whatever. Go on there, look at these bets, and even if you don't want to bet on those apps, you can just play. If you're having a safe Super Bowl party, or if you're having an online one, you can say, hey, let's bet on, is Tom Brady gonna throw a pick for $1? Things like that. So we're gonna help break this down, and helping me break this down are my partners in crime, live from Boston, Massachusetts, Adam Rosenberg,
Hey,
and live from the COVID capital of America, Midtown Mall.
If you don't want your city shutting down your bars and being all up in the video, come on down to Atlanta. We're wide open.
it's like it never closed.
Because it never did, or it did for like 2 weeks.
Home of the NBA All-Star game. Come on down.
Home of James Harden on every off day.
All right.
Magic City, lemon pepper little.
So, before we dive into these props, we should probably discuss how we think the game is going to go, because that will probably have a big play in what type of props we end up taking. So I'm actually going to start with Mo. Mo, how do you see this game shaping out?
I'm rolling with the homies. This is a tough game to call because it's easy to get caught up in all of the narratives, and I know, Sean, you hate
Narrative hive.
I am not narrative hive. I'm clear.
He hates the narratives. It's just
I
tough
don't hate
because
narratives. I just don't think I don't think that. Whatever. Go ahead.
I think the Chiefs are the better team and ultimately win this game. How that happens is tough to call because I can see a situation where the Bucks jump out to an early lead, and because the Chiefs do that with everybody, like just what happened with Buffalo, and the Chiefs are forced to come back and drop 30 unanswered points on the Bucks. That's certainly a possibility. Or I can see the Chiefs, and what I think more likely to happen is the Chiefs never trail in this game, that they just win, and Tom Brady falls just short of the comeback and the Bucks cover, which we will talk about, I guess, shortly. So that's kind of how I see it playing out. I see the Chiefs winning a close game in the box score, but I don't think the game was really ever in doubt.
Berg, what say you?
Similar to Mo, bottom line, I think Kansas City's the better team. They have more consistent weapons, and honestly, I never thought I would say this as a Philadelphia Eagles fan who's had Andy Reid for 10 years, but Andy Reid they have a much better coaching person. Andy Reid surrounds himself with great assistants. So does Bruce Arians, but what it comes down to is in the Super Bowl is being innovative, especially on offense, and being able to adjust at halftime, which are not things that I think that Bruce Arians is able to do. The way that I see the game unfolding, though, similar to what Mo said, I actually see Tampa Bay getting the jump on Kansas City coming out of the gate. And then I see Kansas City coming back. I don't actually see this being a game where they bust it wide open, where they're going to be where they're going to be leading by more than 2 touchdowns. That's not something that I see. Actually, on the other side, I actually see them getting up by a score, getting up by a field goal, and then I see them running the ball a lot. And we can talk about it as we get into the props, but I think the second half of this game is actually where we're going to probably see more scoring. I think we're going to see 2 teams in the beginning that are going to feel each other out. Neither one of these teams actually generally start strong. So I think that that's going to happen in that first half. And then that second half, where there's a lot of props that I do like, I think that that's where you'll see things pick up. At the end of the day, what we are lucky to have is two teams that, you're taking money line on either side, because you're not going to take Tampa Bay with the points in this game. You're either taking Tampa Bay at plus 154, and Kansas City, I believe it's like 170, 179 right now. But my ultimate pick is that Kansas City wins this by 3 or 4 points. But I could see them winning it by even as little as 2.
So I think and Berg, we discussed this last night. I think to most point, the Chiefs are a better team. The Chiefs will win the game. However, the Chiefs starting left tackle, Eric Fisher, blew out his Achilles during the AFC title game. He will now be replaced by Mike Remmers. Who is Mike Remmers, you ask? Mike Remmers is the guy that Von Miller used as a turnstile in Super Bowl 50 and helped to win the MVP. In fact, I think Berg said this yesterday. If you Google Mike Remmers, like the first or second Google result is like Remmers looking for vindication.
Remmers looking for redemption. Yeah, like 5 years, trying to forget Super Bowl 5 years ago is what it is.
Yeah, so I just feel like I want to pick Tampa. I want to pick Kansas City. I think they're the better team, as I said. To Berg's point, this is a money line game. Like, I don't think this game is going to be a 2-point game or a 1-point game. In fact, there's only been one game that was decided by 1 point ever. That was Super Bowl 25, Bills Giants. So this is a money line game, and I can see the Chiefs winning by 7. But to me, the second half adjustments are going to be key. I feel like there's going to be like 2 sacks in the first half. Rivers is going to be running around because Shaquille Barrett and JPP, they're going to get after him.
Rivers.
Excuse me, Rivers. Whew, that's not even a 40th slip. That's just whatever. I think this game will be. I think the Chiefs will win. I think it'll be 7, but I just have like a 10% feeling. Look, it won't surprise me. Look up at the third quarter, and it's 17-7 Bucks, because the Kansas City Chiefs offense just couldn't get it going because they couldn't block. But at the same time, Andy Reid had 2 weeks to prepare for this.
Yes, I think that's really important, because at the end of the day, I think it's really important for listeners to know that you can when we're approaching handicapping this game, the teams have had 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a lifetime in NFL football, because you are able to actually get consistent reps. I will say, though, Kansas City didn't get to fly to Florida until this week. I don't think that really matters, but having 2 weeks with to game plan and do whatever allows you to identify how you are going to take out your opponent, and vice versa. I think when that comes to Tampa Bay or beating Tampa Bay, I think Kansas City knows that what they need to do is basically hit Tom Brady. And so I think you're going to see a lot of blitzing. Tom Brady hates to get hit, and this is a system where he has to get hit a lot. And if he gets hit, he starts to throw the ball towards not the number one option. The way that Tampa Bay is probably approaching how they're going to get rid of Kansas City is somewhat the same thing. You take advantage of the fact that they have a damaged offensive line. I wouldn't say weak, but a damaged offensive line, and find ways to hit Mahomes and do that. The difference between Mahomes and Brady is that Mahomes is a lot quicker on his decision making when he's going after targets. Like, all of his receivers basically can play like a number one receiver because of him. Tom Brady, there's drops. Like, Scotty Miller is not. Scotty Miller can make a play, but Scotty Miller is not like Mike Evans and things like that. So I think that you've had 2 weeks to game plan. It's going to change the way. This is why Super Bowls, like, generally, like, a lot of them aren't blowouts. Why a lot of them are, especially lately, have been good games. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll add a couple of points there, because I think one big take is going to be, Eric Fisher being out, which is a rightful consideration. But what I'll say is this: the Bucks were able to get to Aaron Rodgers with the 4-man rush largely in that game. But even with that, Rodgers had the ball 3 times, actually, down 5, and on 2 of those possessions went 3 and out. Patrick Mahomes is not doing that. He's just not. So, so I think yes, the Bucs can get there. I still don't think it's enough, and I think Andy Reid is smart enough, way smarter than Matt LaFleur, to run a lot of those. What I will say is that speed kills. Speed kills, and we have Hardman, we have Hill, even Kelsey's fast. He can, even if they start getting pressure with those 4, they're going to run a lot of those little line of scrimmage 2-yard routes and let them run, which actually jumps into my first book it prop,
All
if
right.
you will, as a segue.
That's a segue.
That's a segue. You did it. Right on the nose, Mo. Wasn't
right
forced
on the
at all. It
nose.
was great.
In Atlanta, we don't play except for Cole. I believe it's Mahomes' longest completion. Is it 29 or 39? I think it's 39.
Fine.
I think I saw 39.
Your take.
It might be 39 and a half.
I think it might be
saw that.
39.
39 and a half. Mahomes over 39 and a half yards, longest completion. And that does not necessarily mean the ball has to, be in the air for 39 and a half yards. I can absolutely see him throwing a 10-yard out to Hardman or
Tyreek
Hill or Tyreek Hill, who can run the entire route tree, as I've been saying for a year now, and then book another 20 yards. Or even Kelsey. Kelsey will break 2 tackles and get an extra 8 yards on a 22-yard pass completion. So I have Mahomes as my first prop, longest completion over 39 and a half yards. Book it.
So let's look at passing props then. And
Sure.
So,
and I'm sorry, and the Bucs have one of the worst or horrible pass defenses in the secondary. So that's another part of my rationale.
all right. So let's dive into passing props. So, Berg, what are some passing props that you like?
So one of the things that you want to look for, and this is Sean and mine's favorite word, it is a trigger word for Mo, but you want to look for value. Value comes in the form of something that could possibly happen, whereas it is a conceivable idea to happen, of which you will win back more than what you bet, sometimes 15-fold. These generally come in negative plays for teams, especially when it comes to public teams like this. That is why two of the passing props that I love are Mahomes to throw an interception and Brady to throw an interception. Brady to throw an interception is at, I believe, minus 135 at least, so it's not as much value. But Mahomes to throw an interception is 134. If you subscribe to the idea that Tampa Bay is going to come out and take advantage of the left tackle, Fisher being out in that left tackle situation, and frankly harassing Mahomes, Mo said it, we've said it before, Mahomes is someone who will throw things quickly. This is kind of that opportunity where I could see in the first quarter, like Tampa Bay jumping right out, and like Mahomes throws an interception. He's actually thrown a couple over the last few weeks, and doesn't mean that the game's over. Just Mahomes can do that, and then he can settle down. He's that kind of quarterback. But for plus 134, I really like doing that and taking that bet.
For Mahomes to throw a pick.
For Mahomes to throw a pick. And a bonus that I've discovered on top of it that some of your books might have is Mahomes to throw an interception first is actually plus 334, which I think is a fantastic bet, fantastic value of him doing over Brady.
Adam Rosenberg, I am a novice gambler. What the fuck does minus 134 mean? Or
Minus
plus 135?
So in gambling, you will see minus, you will see plus. A minus is a favorite. If something is minus 134, then you have to bet $100 to win $134. Or sorry, you have to bet $134 to win $100. If it is plus 134, then if you bet $100, you win $134. So plus numbers are generally considered around the dog, and minus numbers are called the favorite. I try to look for the amount that is actually over 100 on the negative side is called the VIG or the juice, and it's basically a tax that you're basically paying to make that pick. So something like negative 134, you are paying an extra 34 cents on each of the dollars so that you can make that pick. The higher that is, the more favorable it is, but also the more tax you're paying and the more risk that you're taking with it.
You're on mute, Sean.
I thought I was for a second. You still
Thank
are.
you. Sorry about
There
that.
you
So for my passing prop, the one that I like the most is Mahomes to be sacked first at minus 125. So that's you have to bet $125 for the 100, and that's Vegas letting you know that yes, we think Mahomes will be sacked before Brady, and for all the reasons I gave you earlier about the offensive line and Mike Remmers and all that stuff. So I really like that. Berg spoke about Brady throwing interception. I think, and
You will absolutely throw a pick in this game.
yes.
But the other one I liked within passing was, and because we talked, like I think this is going to be a second half game is when it's going to get interesting because that's when the offenses are going to pick up one way or another. Brady to throw a touchdown in the third quarter is plus 135. That's a fantastic bet. Like you're basically banking, and for him to throw it in the fourth quarter is plus 110. You're getting plus money, which means you are getting more money than you are betting for Tom Brady to throw a second half touchdown, which in any way, shape, or form, it's very hard to see any sort of scenario, even if they're down, that he doesn't do that.
All right, so let's move on to rushing props. So we started with Mo last time, so I'll start with Adam this time. Give us a rushing prop that you like in this game.
So here's something I noticed when I was looking at things is that Tampa Bay actually has the best rush defense in the league. That's actually based a lot around their rushing yardage that they give up. They don't give up a lot, but it's also I know you love the DVOA, but it's actually weighed a lot from the first 75% of the season. They actually give up the most receptions to running backs, which to Mo's point, if there is a blitz situation where Mahomes has to give it up quickly, he could easily dump it out to Hilaire, possibly, and like Darrell Williams. I don't actually think Le'Veon Bell is going to get a lot of playing time in this game, but that's neither here nor there. Needless to say, it's just something that I think about when I looked at the rushing props. There's a couple so the one that I really, really like is I really like Hilaire over rushing attempts of 8.5. I think this is priced on a recency bias because he only had 6 against Buffalo, but prior to that, he had 4 straight games of at least 11. He is their back. I think that they're going to try to establish him within that running game in some way, shape, or form. And if they have the lead, the second half, I think you're going to see a hell of a lot of running that ball and Andy Reid controlling the clock because they're not going to want to put the ball in Tom Brady's hands. So I really love Hilaire over rushing attempts of 8.5. And on the other side, on Tampa Bay's side, I really love unders on Ronald Jones. Something's going on with Ronald Jones in that clubhouse to the point like we haven't been able to find it, but everyone's talking about it. But he's in the doghouse. He hasn't had a fumble. He's only had 2 fumbles this year, but he's in the doghouse for some reason. Fournette's their guy, so I'm really off on any Rojo things. A big game like this, Tom Brady's going to go with the guy who he recruited to come to Tampa Bay, which is Leonard Fournette. So I don't. Tom Brady's a big guy on trust. There's some sort of thing that's going on, and that's part of the reason why I'm very big on under on all Ronald Jones rushing props.
Yeah, we spoke about that. Like, I think something's wrong with Ronald Jones. He's definitely like in the doghouse. I definitely had a bet on him to score a touchdown, and he was nowhere to be found during the NFC title game. So there's 2 picks. There's 2 props I like in this game for rushing. One I like and one I So the one is Mahomes over 19.5 yards rushing, which is minus 122, which means Vegas thinks there's a pretty good chance it's going to happen. The reason why I'm on this is because, as Adam pointed out to me, that when you take a knee, that counts as rushing yards.
Burned me last year.
And it burned Berg last year when Patrick Mahomes, he said he ran backwards like 15 yards.
He ran back like 12 yards on the final play. And it ruined everybody's rushing prop for him.
Yes. So if Mahomes had 22 yards rushing, or excuse me, 21 yards rushing, and in the last play of the game he takes a knee and loses 2 yards and goes as 19 yards rushing, Vegas is going to look at you and say, ha ha, you lose. So that's why I'm about that. The one that I really like is Brady over a half a yard rushing, and which is plus 146. So that means if you bet $100, you win 146. Or if you bet $10, you win $14.60. Why do I like this? I like this because Tom Brady is the absolute king of the quarterback sneak, especially at the goal line. But if it is 4th and 1, Tom Brady is going to die for it, and he's going to get it. And because I think Kansas City is going to win the game, I don't think that Tom Brady will be in a position to take a knee. In fact, even if they do, even if
That's
Tampa
really
Bay does
smart.
win the game, even if Tampa Bay does win the game, it may be like Tom has the ball for the last drive.
Another
So,
reason to really like that prop is also if Tampa Bay is losing, they're not going to want to take the ball out of Tom Brady's hands,
absolutely.
which is
So-
another reason to support that. You've actually convinced me on that prop after I wasn't as into it because I could see something happening, but that's a really smart way to
So that one I like. Mo, what you
Uh,
got?
I'm probably going to stay away from any rushing props in this game. But if I had to choose one, it would be Leonard Fournette over 50 yards, and here's why. Obviously, he had over 50, or maybe not so obviously, he had over 50 yards in the last game. He seems to be the primary running back in the Tampa Bay offense. But a little maybe unknown thing I shared with Berg and Shawn, I think last week, is that Tampa Bay, and I think it's more than any other team, but it's damn near like 80% runs the ball on 1st and 2nd down. They like guaranteed lock. They're running the ball on 1st and 2nd down, and then passing on 3rd down. So he's going to get opportunities, which speaks to Shawn and Berg's keyword of value. Where there is opportunity, there is value. And if you're telling me that the Bucs are going to run the ball on 1st and 2nd down every single time they get the ball, then I think Fournette has the opportunity and therefore value to go over 50 yards.
No, I like it. I mean, Tampa Bay does about 6 plays per drive during the playoffs, and their average start is on their 36. They've benefited from fantastic field position, which allows them to be able to set up drives, especially in the playoffs. They've been able to set up drives, set up series with early rundowns. It's a good prop.
That's actually what I forgot. I neglected to mention earlier, and this is why I think it's so key that Andy Reid has 2 weeks. For me, it's a very straightforward method of beating the Bucs. Make Brady drive 90 yards, 80 yards. It's hard for him to do that. The reason that he's been winning, he beat a lot of these teams, is they're turning the ball over. We saw it in the Saints. We saw it in the Packers. Turning the ball over, or special teams play that puts Brady on his side of the opposing team's side of the field. So when you ask a 43-year-old man, hey, you only have to throw 1 or 2 passes because we're running. Remember, we're running on 1st and 2nd down. So Brady, you only have to drop back 1 or 2 times, maximum 3 on a drive to get 7. Then that's exactly what the Bucs want to do. But if you are Andy Reid, you're like, listen, we are drilling special teams. These mofos are going to start we're going to kick the ball out the damn end zone, Harrison Butker, every single time, make Brady started on the 20-25-yard line. Here's what I would say. I would say we're going to make, if Brady can drive 80 yards 5 times, then I'll tip my hat to him and they win the Super Bowl. I don't think
that's happening. They've won the Super Bowl 35-17. Like that means they're shredding through Tampa. They're shredding through Kansas City, and they're marching.
And I don't think they can do it.
And that's not going to happen.
I don't think you can do it. So that's what I would say. I was like, just put Brady's butt on the 20-yard line every single drive and make him have to drive 80 yards. I'm sorry, I digress. But I wanted to make that point earlier. That would be my game plan.
Their average position starting is the 36-yard line, which is ridiculous.
The Saints kept giving them the ball on their own.
Green Bay gives them it's basically cuts the field into thirds, and you only have to go 2/3. It's nuts, and for a 43-year-old quarterback, it's a big deal.
And then you're asking Brady to only throw 3 passes.
So anyway, Fournette over Rush. We like as we kind of get into. You want to? Think we get into the receiving?
Yes, go to receiving.
Cool. So for receiving, look, I actually think that I'm actually down on a lot of receiving props. I think under for sure on Mike Evans. Brady doesn't force the ball. Mike Evans isn't just gonna get like 11 catches because he's Mike Evans. It doesn't happen. If he's not open, which he probably won't be, Brady's going to probably go to a tight end or he's going to go to a secondary option. That's how you get guys like Scotty Miller and that other guy, Ty Johnson. I don't even know half the receivers on Tampa Bay. That being said, Mike Evans under 64.5 yards. I love that prop. But one big thing I wanted to point out is that so the Chiefs actually have the top defense against wide receivers this season, and like no one realized it. They have the bottom defense against tight ends, so that's very important, and we'll talk about it in a little bit probably when we get to anytime touchdown passes. But Chiefs have top wide receiver defense. That's why I'm down on any receiving props from standard wide receivers on Tampa Bay. What I love on the Chiefs is the guy who's uncoverable is Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce. Sorry. Eagles fan.
Jason Kelce is definitely Jason Kelce is very comfortable.
Yeah. Travis Kelce is not coverable. So I'm on over on all of his props, even if you can't make them high enough. Easily could have 11 catches for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. By the way, he's plus 900 to win the MVP, which is not terrible value. Hard to find a situation where he has a big game and the MVP doesn't go to Mahomes, but neither here nor there. That is a receiving prop that I'm very, very big on. So under Mike Evans, 64.5 yards. Also under on any Sammy Watkins stuff because they've basically already kicked him off the team. And over on Jason Kelce props or Travis Kelce props.
Okay. We understand we understand the Jason Kelce Freudian slip. The receiving prop is the one I love this Kelce one. So Kelce is over 7.5 catches. Vegas has that at minus 146, which basically is telling you Vegas is like he's getting 8 catches. And in fact, I think he's gone over his catch. He's gone over
straight.
his
like 10 straight or something.
10 straight games. He's gone over whatever number Vegas has set for how many catches he's going to have. So to the novices, so if you're having a party, whether it's on Zoom or safely in your house, go to someone that's like, hey, I'll bet you $5 that Travis. You made me do it now. That Travis Kelce has 8 catches, and someone's gonna be like 8 catches, like do it. So yeah, that's the one I love. Yeah, I agree with Sammy Watkins. Like Sammy Watkins has been mid for like God knows how long.
They literally had a statement today where one of their coaches said,
Today being Wednesday,
one of the coaches wouldn't commit to Sammy Watkins being on the team next year. Like Sammy Watkins isn't on the team. Yeah. And that's with DeMarcus Robinson probably missing the game because he had a COVID barber. Like they're still going to find ways. Like Pringle's a great over on a Pringle, over 9.5 yards is a great prop for Pringle because they look for him on third downs in these kind of situations.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I have a couple of receiving thoughts. One, this show was a very big fan of Kelce prop last week because the Buffalo Bills are horrible against tight ends, and so that was one we definitely selected. That's going to be a very popular prop. I know Berg likes to talk about this where he doesn't fade the public. Everyone's going to be on that Kelce prop, because it seems like easy money. So that's going to be a tough one. I wouldn't rank it that high in my book. I love the Sammy Watkins under. We don't see him really being a participant in this game. We see more of a Hardman, maybe Kelce, and then Hill. A couple of things that I had some thoughts on. On this show, you might not know this. We hate Mike Evans. We just don't like. Just don't like him.
He's made us money by
great value.
And apparently
first
Tom
touchdown.
Brady doesn't like him either.
Yeah.
First. If you are going to bet anything on Mike Evans, you have one bet to make. First touchdown. That's it. Yep. If you're not betting Mike Evans' first touchdown, delete Mike Evans from your brain. He will not matter in this game whatsoever.
When they played each other this year, they played each other earlier in the year, he had 2 touchdowns and he had like 6 yards or something like that.
We love betting against Mike Evans here. Sorry, Mike. 2, the Bucs did something very interesting. I was talking to Barry live about it. Rob Gronkowski basically didn't play the entire game against the Packers. And I remember in real time saying, yo, where the hell is Rob Gronkowski? And then he magically appeared on the field and had like a 20-yard catch and run. It's almost like they were saving him for this moment. And I have him at a yardage of 29.5 yards. I think that goes under. I don't see Rob Gronkowski exceeding 29.5 yards. I think he'll come in more of a gadget. He probably is going to have a similar play where he has like a catch and run 20 yards at a key moment in the game. But over 30 yards, to get to 30 yards, I actually really like that under on Gronkowski. Cameron Brate is more so the full-time tight end for the Bucs. So I really
like
this.
That's a good prop too, because of this point that like if the Chiefs get to Brady and he's forced to throw, his secondary options always seem to be like unders, and Cameron Brate is a major recipient of that stuff.
I also would add,
really quickly, Mo, just want to say to the public, to the listeners, Vegas eats off of public names, so don't be the guys like, oh, it's Rob Gronkowski, especially if you're a novice, you're not a big football fan, like, oh, Rob Gronkowski's going to have 32 yards, let me bet this, and then when he has like 2
public
catches for 12 yards, you can be like, oh my God.
Everybody loves overs, but it's not necessarily the way.
Yes.
I'm probably taking the under there, and I also think, because we haven't even mentioned it, I think the Chiefs defense is getting disrespected going into this game. Chris Jones.
Can we move the defensive props? Because
no. I was just saying the Kansas City defense. They have a legit defense. No one's talking about the defense.
Number one ranked rookie secondary.
Chris Jones is the man, and my favorite prop bet is on the defense. So when we get to
the defense, I'm excited. By the way, listen, we have 15 minutes left, so keep your long-winded asses.
We're very excited. We've been waiting all year for this, Shawn.
This is my favorite prop bet. This is my number one prop bet.
Give it to me.
The Honey Badger gets whatever he wants. Super Bowl MVP. Plus one.
This is not a. We have an MVP section next.
You said the defense. It's the defense.
Let him do it.
Oh, go ahead. Let it fly.
It's a defensive prop. It's a defensive prop.
No, it's an MVP prop.
It's the same thing.
All right, go ahead. Let it fly, bro.
All right.
Let it fly.
Give me a sack total.
No. I want to hear that.
I don't need to call it Gaslight Grimes segment, but you're wrong.
No,
hold on. So what's the
sack prop for the Chiefs?
The sack, look,
it's plus 1,000. It's plus 1,000.
Plus 1,000 it could easily happen.
Okay.
For Honey Badger to be the MVP. Now here's all right. So the point is, I think the Chiefs defense of all of the things that we talked about as far as game flow and what happens in the game, this is a complete fade the public observation. They're going to have the biggest impact on this game, the Chiefs defense. And I said this because Berg and I and Shawn was watching the game live. Those powder puff passes that Brady was doing, like just throwing it like a 5-year-old can catch that. My son, who's about to turn 4, can catch that ball. That's not happening with the Chiefs. The Honey Badger is going to eat that alive. I have the Honey Badger returning a touchdown. Oh, there we go. Before we get to the Super Bowl MVP, boom. Tom Brady, pick 6, gonna happen. Boom.
There you go.
Honey Badger, pick 6.
I am not on that prop for the only reason of that. The only reason why I thought about it. It's it's the
Brady's throwing an interception. Brady's throwing an interception.
But a pick 6 or a defensive TD. The reson why I'm not on it is that Tampa Bay's only done it. Tampa Bay has done it once. It hasn't happened. Neither of these teams do it basically. So it'd be a catastrophic play for this to happen. It's priced that way. Do it if you want to. But I'm not as huge on that one. I'm bigger on the over on the sacks. I'm
sorry. What is Brady's interception?
It's like minus 140 or something. They're basically.
I'm definitely taking that. I'm definitely taking that too. Brady's
on the site that I'm using. I'm not gonna say their name because they're not cutting me any checks. Brady is minus 162.
Yeah, it's climbing. So we bet you got to lock him in. That's a little bit high, but
that's high.
Anyway,
tad high.
So wait, Shawn, you have really good defensive ones that you had mentioned before that I think that you should tell these folks about that are individual player props.
So for defense, like I said, I keep going back to the offensive line issues that Kansas City could potentially have. Shaquille Barrett over half a sack, which basically is he going to get a sack, is minus 115, which I think is pretty decent value because he's going to get a sack. And JPP over to get a sack is minus 150. Now that's priced because most people, most casual football fans know who JPP is from because from his days on the Giants. But I do not see a world where Shaquille Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul do not get a sack in this game. The other
Can you bet on your site? Can you bet that JPP specifically, individual defensive player specifically, will get an interception? Because he's been dropping back.
Yeah, on different sites, you can do different things.
Yeah. Okay.
You might be able to, but I'll take a look at it. And so those are the ones that I loved. Bird, do you want to discuss any defensive ones before we dive into special teams?
No, I mean, tied to the look. I mean, might as well tie to it. I know that we're just getting ahead of ourselves on the MVP thing, but look, if you see this game, if you think if Tampa Bay wins, it's because Shaquille Barrett or JPP or somebody on the defense basically owned Remmers and beat him around, and if you believe, so we have a Von Miller situation essentially. You actually kind of owe it to yourself to hedge. If you're a Chiefs backer, hedge by putting like $10 on both JPP and Shaquille Barrett for MVP. They're both at plus 6,000, because if Tampa Bay wins this game and it's not Tom Brady who did it in the final second, it's because there was a Von Miller taking over Remmers situation, footsteps Falco type of thing where he just owned him, and it was like a 6-sack type of thing.
Plus 6,000 is if you bet 100, you win $6,000. If you bet $1, you win 60. So to Burke's point, if you think Tampa is going to win, we gave you the blueprint to how Tampa Bay wins, which means one of those dudes will probably walk away with the trophy.
Or even if you think KC's going to win and you want to back up in like a creative way.
I think for Tampa, though, if you think Tampa's going to win, I think something has to happen, like a special teams touchdown. Brady's not going to, in my opinion, Brady's not going to outscore Mahomes. So I think on his own, I think they're going to require a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown if you think the Bucs are going to win.
Okay.
And the last defensive special teams prop I like is missed extra point.
I love this prop.
Plus 250.
100%
Harrison Butker.
You said plus 250?
Yes.
I'm so on this
Harrison
prop.
Butker. I should probably bet this now. Harrison Butker has missed extra point. He has missed kicks all playoffs. He's had some struggles this year. This is put $5. So you put $5 on it, you win $25. No, you don't win $25. You win
the best.
I forget. Whatever. You bet 100, you win $250. You bet 10, you win $25. Go ahead.
The best thing about that bet, which this is our favorite bet to make on this show, is you can cash it in the first quarter. It's likely to happen in the first quarter. You might cash it 5 minutes into the game, and you'd be like, "I'm $300 richer."
I'm literally looking to make this bet
right now. That is a definite thing for me. Anyway,
we got a few minutes left.
So we'll make our bets after this.
Okay.
So to recap on this, look, I think we all see a lot of sacks in this. We see that there is actually value in, especially like Shaquille Barrett being for his over sack prop, JPP for his over sack prop. If you really want to get funky, you can put them as MVPs. But what we are most on over anything else is we absolutely see that there's going to be a missed extra point. So,
all right,
scoring, and then
scoring props. So this is the Allie Campbell special, and apologies, Allie could not be here because his daughter is not cooperating with bedtime. But really quickly, for anytime touchdown scoring props, I like Brady anytime touchdown score at plus 370. Because remember what I said, if it's fourth and goal from the one, or if it's anything from the one, you're going to see a Brady sneak. This already cashed for me early in the playoffs at plus 650 against the Saints.
It's fantastic. I was there.
So, we're there. I like, for some reason, well, not even for some reason, if the game goes the way we think I think it can go with the struggling offensive line, that's why I like Tampa Bay to score defense, special teams to score a touchdown at plus 550. That's like strip sack, fumble, scoop and score. Not necessarily like pick six, or a pick six happens if Mahomes is hurried because of pressure. Burr says it's silly, and you know something? I don't necessarily disagree with him, but
it's also priced silly. It's priced very silly. Just that
it should be higher. It should be higher.
It should be higher, is what it is. But you know what? Whatever. This is Super Bowl. Do you know how many people won money off of a safety being the first score of the game in the Broncos Super Bowl? Like, give me a break. Like, that was huge. Against what? The Seahawks, right?
Seahawks.
Yeah. So no. I like. In honor of Ali's got a really good method. It's if you can find a running back that's 200 or more, you take it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get a lot of carries, and they're going to use him to run out the clock a lot. I think basically a lot of this game is actually going to be KC controlling the clock, and I love his touchdown prop. I also might throw something at Cameron Brate. In terms of the first touchdown,
plus 335.
335.
Cam Brate anytime touchdowns plus 335.
Plus 335. What I do like is potentially doing in terms of a first touchdown, Gronk. Gronk has a first touchdown, something like plus 1400, which is something that you can see happening. And actually, Hilaire is plus 1100, which if you want to take one on both sides, those are plays that I could absolutely see happening.
I hate first touchdowns because I hate like it's like throwing darts at them. It's like throwing darts.
Unless it's DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams.
Can we add a quick section? I know we're running low on time. Just what you think there will be a bad beat in this game, prop wise. There will be a bad beat. I know we alluded to a bad beat being a Mahomes or Brady rushing yardage, but Berg sparked my interest there because I could definitely see Clyde Edwards-Helaire running in for a touchdown and then, sitting down at the 1 yard line because it seals the game. That's absolutely going to happen, guaranteed. And preventing like that anytime touchdown prop from cashing. So what is your bad beat prop that we haven't talked about that's going to happen?
Someone doing a 2-point conversion that costs them the under.
Or I think the bad beat prop would be Brady under pass attempts.
The Brady under pass attempts could be a bad beat. The Brady rushing could be a bad beat too because he could get sacked.
While on it, you have to tell the Josh Allen bad beat passing attempts.
So
that's
really
awesome.
quickly,
awesome
in a game where in the playoff game against the Ravens, where the Bills made it perfectly clear in the game before that they were not going to run the ball. So I bet Josh Allen over 37.5 pass attempts, and this fuckface had exactly 37. So
mind you, he threw the ball like 30 times in the first half.
He threw the ball crazy, and literally, I was like, okay, I just need one silly pass attempt, and he didn't get it. Anyway, all right, so we have like 3 minutes left. MVP, so Kelsey plus 900. So look, the MVP is a quarterback's award. Simple. The only way non-quarterbacks win it is if crazy defensive performance, like we said of Von Miller, or a crazy offensive performance where the quarterback doesn't play well and the majority of his yards go to one guy. Like, give you a frame of reference. The Super Bowl, I forget which one it was, the 28-3 Super Bowl where the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead. Brady was the MVP. James White had 14 catches for 110 yards, including the game-winning touchdown, and they gave Brady the MVP. So,
and Tom Brady had a very, very crappy Super Bowl a couple Super Bowls ago, and Julian Edelman won the MVP because he's the only one who did anything.
For Kelsey to win MVP, he's going to have to have at least 11 catches for 160 yards and probably two touchdowns. Two touchdowns. And it probably has to be a game where Mahomes is like 32 of like 56 for like, or like 28 of 34 for like 270 yards. So like clearly like the majority of the stuff went to him. Any MVP. And we spoke about Shaquille Barrett and JPP. Mo.
Yeah. I think in an absolutely fade the public value prop, no one's talking about the Chiefs defense. The Honey Badger If he gets 2 picks, which is absolutely possible, and one of them is returned for a touchdown, absolutely can win MVP. That's my lock of a bet that I'm making. I don't know if he's going to do it, but at plus 1,000, and Brady threw 3 interceptions in the second half last week, and Honey Badger has a nose for the ball. He's like an Ed Reed guy to Shawn's heart, a Palomalu kind of guy. He just has a nose for the ball. He will absolutely get a pick. I guarantee he will get a pick.
Tyrann Mathieu is plus 5,000. That's
Plus
50 to 1,
5,000.
basically.
Plus 5. Value.
But see, the other
This
thing
is my TikTok video. I love it. It's just,
this is also Vegas is also very good at placing a number, getting to make a bet like 50 to 1. All right. Last but not least, so I have one miscellaneous one I want to discuss. A penalty negated TD. Yes, it's plus 260. That I like that, but plus 260 is way too low for that because it doesn't happen very often. It should be like plus 500, but whatever. Keep an eye on that. So that's a good bet to make for like if your dollar bet party is like, hey, I'll bet you $5 that penalty a TD will get taken off the board by a penalty. And we kind of spoke about the game result at the beginning, like
yeah.
We all three of us agree. If you're gonna bet this game, bet the money line. Do not waste your time on Tampa 3. Like Tampa is not going to lose this game 22-20 or 35-33. That's not happening.
My thing is I can't. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I would be so pissed off if they did not cover. Like you don't want to bet it, and the Chiefs win, but they don't cover because then you're like you're excited that they won. Yeah, you're excited that they won, but they didn't cover. It's like, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of creative ways you can play with it. I think one thing, I don't know if we mentioned it, but one of the things that we kind of all seem to agree on that was good is you can bet Tampa Bay first quarter Chiefs full game, which is like plus 400 or something. And it's a fantastic bet, especially if you think that that's the way that it sort of plays out where Tampa Bay gets to jump on them early. The other thing I want to add to that missed extra point, generally, if there's a missed extra point, it correlates to a team doing a 2-point conversion. So if you're going to bet the missed extra point, which I just, by the way, put in, Mo, it's under special teams on the things I just found. It's buried in the site. But there's going to be a 2-point conversion, so you might as well also throw a little bit at will there be a 2-point conversion? Because generally what happens is when someone misses an extra point, a team later on then to get things back into the key numbers and what's going, we'll go for 2. Just the attempt of 2 is something that you probably want to do in there because of correlate.
If I'm Bruce Arians, I don't attempt that extra point this game. I'm like, we're going for 2 every time. We're going for 2 every time. Make a decision before the game. We're going for 2 every time, or we're only going for 2 in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Don't be Matt LaFleur and.
Yes, don't be Matt LaFleur. And with that, I'd like to say thank you. We're wrapping up. So thank you to Rosenberg. Thank you to Midtown Mo for joining us. If you like what you heard and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to Break the Wheel. We are available on all podcast platforms. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Break the Wheel EP. That's Break the Wheel EP. You could follow me. If you're watching this, you can see all our Twitter names below. If you're listening on podcast, I am at Shawn with a W _. The underscore is very important. You can follow Rosenberg on Twitter at Hey Rosenberg. And you can follow Mo at Midtown Mo. But he is private, but he needs the followers. So help him get his follower numbers up. Anything you guys like to plug before we get out of here?
Plug the really bad beat in the SMU game that just happened, where they hit a free throw at the end to not cover.
I will plug the TCU game, which me and Berg are on. Let's go TCU.
Yeah, that's thankfully for that. This is great. Bet safe.
So for these fine gentlemen, I am Shawn Hardie. Thank you for listening.